man, you know what? I wish someone had told me, right, that something to stand out at a career fair was simply walking up and being confident, and having a great attitude, and knowing how to direct a conversation. That puts you. He's like, I wish someone had told me that would put me at the top.
Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and my brother Jake here is joining me. This is going to be another episode of What's on Your Mind. This is where Jake and I sit down and we kind of think about what's going on during the week, and what's the most impactful thing that we've either experienced or had to communicate or whatever during the week, and we just want to share it with you guys. So, with that said, what's on your mind, Jacob?
I'm pretty excited today. The day started out kind of like, I was getting through some coordination meetings and the hourly, talking about resources and all this kind of crap. And I hate that. It's completely necessary, but sometimes it can get just, you're drudging through it. It sucks. Yeah. So hopping on here to talk about what I want to talk about is really fun. So I'm excited to do the show today. So
heck yeah, me too.
Today. Yeah. So, what I'd like to talk about this week is career fairs, because I went to one yesterday and I always have a great time. I went to Mass Maritime Academy here in Buzzards Bay, and it was awesome. The cadets that come through that program, they're a level apart from most of the career fairs I go to. And it could just be that we connect really well, because they're polished, they're very straightforward, they're confident, obviously very well dressed. They're in their uniforms and such, and they just have this aura around them that makes it exciting and fun to talk to these kids. So they're going to do very well, I think, in industry as soon as they find their job that they like, and so it's always exciting to go there. They do absolutely set themselves apart, and one of the things that I want to talk about was how they're very intentional when they're walking around and they're standing up straight, right, and their heads on a swivel, and they are, the seniors particularly, who were going straight to where they knew they wanted to go, right? Most of them had already been talking to these guys, to the companies, right? And so they walk up, they know them, they're like, hey, what's up, man? So blowing by Hallam's desk just because, I haven't been talking to anyone from that school, but so that was fun. The seniors knew what they wanted. And then the other classmen could come by, right? And acted, they were just as polished, but they were kind of more scoping around, like, hey, I don't know what's up with all these companies like the seniors do, So they were more looking to engage with people, which was cool. And one of the things I noticed is just if I made eye contact, they made eye contact, they said something. They said, hey, how you doing? Or nice day, or whatever it was, right? Hey, not either interested in talking to you or not, but they would communicate that, right? They weren't just kind of like eyes to the ground, kind of sloughing their way through the line and kind of looking sideways at your booth and then going,
or the look away thing.
They looked very sure of themselves, which is a great quality to have. So I appreciate that. And one of the things that I really appreciate was if they walk up and they want to engage with you, they just introduce themselves right away, right? The hand comes out for a handshake. It's very firm. They look you right in the eye and say, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so. Tell me more about your company, whatever. But the introduction is it sets the conversation up really well. They come right up to you. It's not weird for me either. So when it's weird for them, it's weird for me. And then it's everything kind of feels weird, right? So it's But when they walk right up to you, just shake your hand and look you right in the eye and say, "How you doing? I'm so and so, and this is this is my major. This is what I'm looking for. But tell me more about your company." That's perfect, right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing I really enjoyed was that if we start to get talking, and I tell them a very brief 30-second pitch about what Hallam Engineering is, and they know it's just misaligned. They go, "That sounds really cool. It's completely not what I am interested in, but thanks for your time." All right, cool, man. And then they just walk
Yeah.
off. It's like, that's
Done.
perfect. Because then it's like, because sometimes at career fairs, you're like, how do I end the conversation? It's kind of awkward, and usually I have to step up and be the one to say, "Well, very nice hearing from you. I wish you good luck with the rest of the booth. Go talk to so-and-so. They're cool too." Like, something to get
Yeah.
them to acknowledge and go, "Okay." And then they kind of look relieved, like, "Okay, great. That was the end. Now I get to leave." But these these graduates and underclassmen were like, they directed most of it, which is awesome.
Yeah,
So,
that is super awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Quickly, tell me about your coworker, because when we were talking yesterday, you mentioned like he was just like floored about how they operated.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was me, and a couple mechanical engineers, process engineers with me. I think it was their first career fair that they were at. But, I'm having conversations with these guys. They're having conversations. The night's going on, and I'm having more conversations with them, with my peers. And one of them said, "Man, you know what? I wish someone had told me, right, that something to stand out at a career fair was simply walking up and being confident and having a great attitude and knowing how to direct a conversation. That puts you." He's like, "I wish somebody had told me that would put me at the top." Because I was grading the resumes that I get. I was like, "This is a 5, this is a 2, this is a 3," and I have my own grading system, and I'm putting down good marks for people that just walked right up. And like I said, most all of them did. So I had some other tiers of like what sets you apart, right? But he's like, "I wish someone told me that that's 50+% of it is just being presentable and being someone that can have a conversation and being direct."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, this is exactly why I'm starting this impactful engineering thing with my brother Steve. This is why, because
Yep.
you know how many people have told me that they wish they had known this simple truth a long time ago, and it blew me away too, because I was like, yes, I wish someone had told me. Yes, like, so that's the purpose of this podcast. That's why we're doing this. Like,
Yeah.
it's a big part of it, right? We have our other very ambitious goals, and we want to be very helpful for people. But it's like, just hearing that, I was like, yeah, okay, this is why, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's what kicked it off, right?
Right.
That's what got us talking about it in the first place.
Yeah, because I would go to a career fair, and the people that were representing the company that I was with and the students looking for jobs, I'm just going, "Guys, what, like, as an employer, we could be doing more to engage and get closer to the people that are there and bring their stories out and connect with them. But also the students can be doing a hell of a lot more to engage with us and bring the likableness and the stories and the connecting from us out as well." And that's when you start to really know people. Like, I was having a conversation with one of the cadets, and it was like, we started talking about his resume, and he actually was very well put together. He was one of the best that showed up, and he actually asked me right away, "What would I be doing in day to day as a co-op with you?" Which no one else was asking. And I was like, "Okay, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that." Right?
Yeah.
No one else has asked that yet today. But anyway, we're getting to know each other. And then we end up on his phone looking at pictures of this lawnmower go-kart that he welded together. And he just threw a transaxle on there and has put a shifter on there, and just, he's just messing around, but he's showing me pictures, and we're, connecting that way. And I get more of a sense of where he came from, right? What he's been doing, what he likes, what the kind of personality he has, and all that stuff. And that just makes it more apparent what everything that he has to say, and his acumen and his GPA and the classes he's taken and his whole resume. To me, that makes it way more apparent on how I'm going to interpret the information that I see on that page, because I'm not going off of this brick wall of a human that kind of came up and was stumbling and going, oh, well, what's your company like? Oh, okay, thanks. And then walks off.
Yeah. Hands
All
a
that,
sheet.
am I going to even look at the resume? Nope. And then even if I did, I would look at it and go, oh, that's great, but I have nothing to like, this resume
Yeah.
looks like everybody else's resume. How do I gauge this? Well, if you'd interacted, right, and give me some material to work with, the interpretation goes a lot farther on what, it's hard to express, but I'm sure people that have done career fairs and that look through resumes every day can relate with that. Um, the conversations you have are very important. But yeah, like I was saying, if you can just open up and share and get excited about who you are, present who you are in an excited fashion, because like if you're not excited about who you are and why you're there, we're not going to be excited about hiring you. Like it's as point blank as I can get.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times in interviews, to solicit that personality out of the interviewee is, I'll ask, what's the best thing about you that's not on your resume? And usually they'll light up and they'll just get really excited about whatever they're working on. It doesn't matter what it is. And then you can see that passion for, for the thing that they love doing, and it humanizes them, and it makes them way more memorable in your brain. And it associates that with, the rest of the details out of the resume, and it's a lot easier to recall, and you can make a better judgment call, while you're reviewing with all your peers about, the resumes and interviews that you've done. So it just makes it that much more impactful to the interviewer, that as an interviewee, you are sharing your personality and your personal stories, because they'll retain all the resume details as well as, the you details.
Yeah. Yeah, and then hopefully the companies that are there have representation that feels that way, and it's not just there because they were told to show up because you have to
Yeah.
be at career fairs, right? You'll run into people like that too, that aren't even excited about being there on the employer side. So if you come with, but always come with the energy, because if you come with the energy and they're not so energetic about it, you can always meet them where they are and bring the energy down. But you won't get the energy right away if you come in just kind of head down and
Yeah.
you don't, the worst. I was talking to one of my buddies there too, and it's like the worst thing that you could do is walk up and have a handshake where it's like a floppy little hand, and you're just like, and when you go to meet to do the handshake, it's like one person is crushing the other one, or like can't get a hold of like, then you end up like grabbing each other's fingers or something.
That's
and then
the worst.
It's just weird, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like I really appreciated that they go in, sink in the handshake, and it's a good handshake. It starts it off really well.
Anytime I've ever hit that the finger grab handshake, I'm like, no, we're redoing this handshake because that is unacceptable.
Yeah, let's have a little lesson here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right. I mean, if you're listening to this and you go, wow, like that has nothing to do with engineering, that has nothing to do with how good you're going to be at the job, and you feel that way, I ask you to reconsider, because everyone going through that, whatever program you're going through, there's going to be stars, of course, the super intelligent, right? But everybody's getting through. Everybody has decent grades. Everybody's going to have that degree. Everybody's going to be accredited in the same way. You have the same acumen when you get out of school. Like, sure, being super smart and intelligent and like one of the top stars in your school, sure, will have huge benefits, right? And that is very important. But it's not everything. And in fact, I would say it's less than you think it is, right? And to seriously take what we're saying here and apply it, it's going to help you tremendously. So if you're thinking that, oh, this is a bunch of crap, and perhaps maybe you stopped listening or something, or checked out, like, you're wrong. I'm telling you, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Ask anyone from any company that actually cares and goes to career fairs or does the hiring, and is looking for good people. Say, hey, is it true that it's important to show up with some good energy and look someone in the eye and shake their hand well and tell them about yourself and be excited about who you are? They're going to say yes. They're not going to go, oh yeah, none of that matters. All we want you to do is show up and sit at a desk and crunch numbers and stuff. You don't need to talk to nobody. You don't need to be good with others. You don't need to you don't need to have energy. We just want you to just, draw stuff in a CAD program. Like, they're not going to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. How I like to kind of compare it is someone who is really effective as an engineer, going like getting their job and being effective in the job. Um, it's the same kind of parallels as a good salesman, right? Because you are selling yourself, and you're selling your credibility as an engineer. So that firm handshake, direct eye contact, having a strong voice, and it could be a quiet voice, but it could still be a confident, strong voice, right? It doesn't have to be really loud, but giving off that persona of confidence and directness um, will sell yourself to whoever you're talking to, whether it's someone you're giving a presentation to in work, someone you're trying to sell an idea for a product, or a design of whatever sort, or just your resume, right? So you're constantly selling yourself as a legitimate engineer and someone who needs to be on whatever project or job that you're referencing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And another thing we talked about that I was kind of hesitant to say on the show, but I'm just going to say it anyway, is that, like, degree path or not, like, good humans is
Mm-hmm.
who we want to hire, right? And of course, we're in the engineering industry. We want to have someone degreed, probably, and especially in mine. If you're going to go professional engineer route, you have to have it, that 4-year degree. But anyone can do this stuff, and we were just talking about that. I'm like, man, I'm just looking for good people. I wouldn't even care if someone majoring in something completely different came up and said, you know what, I want a taste of engineering would be cool. See what you guys do every day. It's like, if they work hard, can get along, and are just decent humans. I mean, anyone can do it. I've been at companies where there's just 30-year veterans that never went to school, but they just, they came in and maybe they did a small technical role for a while and then just built their way up, and they don't have a degree at all. And they're just rock stars. They just,
Yeah.
I mean, their depth of knowledge, they're so good at everything. They're good mentors. So it's like, I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but it's like, just, it's almost more important just to be a decent person, and have some confidence and energy, right? So I really want to hit on that because it's so important. And then, kind of on top of that, is when you're engaging in a career fair. So we already talked about the intro and walking up and everything, but and when you're engaging, and just start asking questions, even if you're going to repeat the question because you didn't quite understand what the rep was saying or the recruiter was saying, that's okay. Like, and don't get in your own head and think that you need to understand everything we're telling you, because you won't. And if you do, great, but if you don't, like, ask more questions.
Yeah.
Like, someone from, and I love doing it, because it breaks the ice, and it's like, it just shows that we're all trying to learn still. One of the guys was like, oh yeah, I got my fireman's two, blah blah blah. I said it really quick, and it's like, then I can operate boilers, and I was like, so this is a license that you get? And he's like, yeah, it says operator's license. I'm like, for what? And he's like, oh, like big boiler systems. I'm like, so you're out there running boiler systems? He's like, yeah, totally. I'm out here. They did one at our school that used it to generate steam and turn turbines and provide all these things. And I'm like, oh, sweet. And if I had just taken his pitch without asking the questions, I would have been like, oh, okay, cool. He threw some sort of like cert at me, and like, I think he said boiler, but he was talking fast. And then I just stopped him and said, hey, so what was this thing you're talking about? Oh, now I know what that means. Okay, it means you can operate this. And then we got into more of it. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, that's really cool, because someone who has hands-on experience like that is going to know that when we're designing stuff, which is what we do, right, that we're not going to show a valve that needs to be operated behind some wall in between this cramped space where you have to like squat over a grate, reach your arm out just to operate this valve. And he's like, yeah, totally. I've run into all that. And we just started talking about, it's great. Get curious, ask questions, be confident about it. Who cares what the other person is thinking about the questions that you're asking? who cares, really? And I would go so far as to say most of it, if you're nervous and you think that you kind of bombed something, or you don't want to ask because you don't want to seem unintelligent or something, most of the time it's like you creating that in your own head for yourself. They don't care. They're just looking at you wondering why you're so fucking nervous. Why is this guy like so quiet and mumbling and stuff? They're think that's the only thing that they would think. So don't give them a reason to think that. Just be confident and have great conversations. It's just like you're going out to meet someone, but it's really easy because you're there for a purpose and a reason, and everybody knows why you're there. I mean, how much easier does it get than that?
Yeah, it's no secret.
We know you're going to come up to us and ask questions about what the hell we do at our company. So ask. It's great, right? So
that's awesome.
That's all I got, man. I was excited about that. I hope what I had to say came across, beneficial somehow.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to get someone from like a talent acquisition or HR department on and really talk about that, like deep dive.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what other people think. I think most would agree with what I'm saying, but I really, and I have talked to a lot of people, but I'd love to get some other opinions on it,
Yeah. So if anyone's listening to this and they're in that role, reach out to us. You can send us an email directly at questions@impactfulengineer.com. We'd love to pick your brain.
Hey, my fellow impactful engineers. If there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, it's to keep listening to the podcast, but also if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show.
So, Steve, I think it's time. I've babbled on enough. What is on your mind today?
There's a lot on my mind, but I think one of the main things that I've ran across a lot this week, and it kind of ties into what you were talking about in terms of the presence and communication, is how do you utilize effective communication, not just in the workplace, but just in life in general, right? But in the reference frame of the workplace, there's kind of three things I would like to talk about for effective communication. One is utilizing radical candor. And that means the person that you are communicating with feels like they are understood and that you care while you're challenging them directly. So, that a good example is, like, say, Jacob, you suck at math. I know you don't, but just say you suck at math.
Well, you have no idea. Sure.
Yeah. And I go to you and I come to you and say, hey, Jake, you suck at math. How does that make you feel? You're like, hey, this guy's an asshole.
I want to punch you right in the face. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Another way is I can just not tell you that you suck at math, right? And I'm just nice. Oh, you're good at math. It's all good. It's not everyone has to be a rock star at math. And then you just continue sucking, and then projects fail because of your suckiness at math.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So where's that happy medium in between? It's more along the lines of, hey, I see, you've been struggling a little bit with this math problem on this project. I can help you. And I really think you can learn this, but it's just going to take some practice. So let's dive into it. Let's figure this out together. And you should be good and off to the races. But if you run into any other challenges, let me know, and we'll figure it out. So you can get.
Sounds a lot better to me.
Yeah, exactly. You're not pissed off that I called you an idiot, or you're not pissed off because no one's helping you because you're just sitting there sucking. So, right. Radical candor can be leveraged in all communication scenarios to be direct, but you got to make sure you are caring about the situation and the person at the same time. It's not easy right when you are aware of that concept, but it's easy to get in the flow of it. And the more reps you put in, the easier and more natural it becomes.
Yeah, and the first time you try it, I think with someone, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but it's not going to be ridiculous,
Yeah.
Because we're all humans and we all want to be right, and we all want to defend our position when someone says something, or we all want to jump into coach mode. And I've run into all different types, from telling you like, hey, no, and getting super defensive right away and just ruining the rest of their day, all the way to like, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me, to like, and everything in between. So it just takes a little bit of extra communication as well. But it's a good point. You should be direct. How do we fix the problem? Offer a solution, offer help, tie it back to being important that we figure it out, and then move on from there in a very direct way, but with, like you said, with some, I would say, like, understanding.
Yeah.
At the same time, right? Because I've had people come up to me and I've had bosses even that just sort of like, oh, that's bullshit. I was trying to tell them something, not at my company now, but like, oh, that's bullshit. I'm like, what do you mean that's bullshit? Explain a little more. That's horseshit. It shouldn't take that long. I'm like, okay, but can we talk about what I'm actually doing? Because like, there's a whole nother layer below that. Like, well, so it sounds like a little too long for what I thought the scope was, or my ask was. What is your interpretation of my ask? Give me some of the tasks that you're thinking you have to do, and some of the hours. And then I understand that maybe, there's some more work that you're working on now. Like, so let's talk about it and let's try to like chisel off some hours. Sounds a lot better than oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Which is actually true. That's like, I am not embellishing that at all.
Yeah, it's happened to me many times as well. Because it's the quick version, right, of being direct.
It's the easy version.
It's the easy.
It's the lazy easy version.
That's yeah. Right. And it kind of is a default, like in like the parenting mode. Both of us have kids, and it's like, oh, because I said
true. So true.
Because I said so, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing. The kids are sitting there going like, okay, what the fuck?
They're smarter than you think, and they're wondering why you're such an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. So, you can say, because that's what I decided. But if you give them a little context, it goes so far with them, because, even if they don't agree, they'll at least have some understanding.
Yeah. And when you've developed that understanding to a really good level, because then you can deploy the because I said so, and then there's an understanding that doesn't have to be said, and they go, all right, got you.
Yep.
Because they know that you got them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's some scenarios where it's like, being out in public or something, and there's some wild rowdiness going on, and it's clearly disruptive behavior, and should be, you should not be doing it. And I'll raise my voice and be like, all right, it's time to calm down and stop this. And then there's understanding. Okay, got it. Because I've been explained to you before about why it's a problem. You reminded me of when you said that, you reminded me of a story, because I was hanging out with some of my coworkers, and like a week before, I had recorded on my phone, because I had the same conversation with my daughter about, it was about screen time, watching shows and stuff. And I think it was particularly like she tried to drag the iPad with her to the dinner table to eat, right? We eat as a family sometimes. Most of the time we're just all, making food and eating, and we're sitting wherever we want. Like, we're very non-traditional, like sit around the table. But she's got, iPad in one hand, trying to pour some milk in a glass with the other while watching the show. And I'm just like, Claire, you need to put that thing away. Like, set the show down, do whatever you're going to do. Go eat your food. Don't use it while you're eating your food. Enjoy your food. And then you can go back to watching whatever you're watching. And it's like this, and that happens multiple times, right? So we always have this explanation thing. Like, you don't need to be 5 inches from your screen 24 hours a day. You need to do some things without having an iPad in your hand. And so I recorded it on my phone. I was like, Claire, right now I'm going to record a lesson for you for all future events. And this argument. And I recorded like a minute and a half on my phone, on my notes app, as to an explanation why. and it was the most hilarious thing. I might like play a clip of it or something, but every time that comes up, and it hasn't come up in a long time. It's just like, put the iPad down while you're doing that. Okay, shuts it down, does whatever. No more argument because we've had that understanding. I'm like, do I need to play the clip for you?
Yeah.
So because I said so, now it works in that scenario, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You established that precedence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
That's
a pretty
hilarious.
funny way, right?
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to share that clip with you right now. I don't know how many people listening will have kids or are in the middle of the parenting quest, but it's pretty funny. I hope you get a laugh out of it. Enjoy.
All right, we're here today to answer Claire's question about why can't we watch shows every second of our lives every single day. So that Claire could come back to this and hit play every time she asks why. Because having a tablet in your face 24/7 is not good for you. And a child does not know the difference between what's good for them and what's bad for them most of the time. That's why it's the parent's job, who's been on the earth for many, many, many more trips around the sun than their child has, to tell them what's good for them. Sometimes you just have to accept that the parent knows better than you. Does the parent always know better than you? No. Should the parent always know better than you? No. But in this instance, it's my rule. I'm steadfast in it. There is no other reason why, other than I'm the person that's going to take away tablets from you the most that I can so that you don't spend your life burning your eyes out of your skull watching them from 2 inches away from your face. End of story, period. Goodbye.
Anyway, communication, radical candor.
Yeah. So utilize radical candor is number one. Another point is how to say no. And I think this is a skill that can be extremely hard to develop. But it is so powerful.
I think it's because people say, or people think that no just means no.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, exactly.
No period and then no other discussion. I think that's why it's hard for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So the note that I have here is is show that you understand what they are asking, but that it doesn't fit into the scope of either the project itself that you're working on or your current ability to fulfill the task. Right. So essentially, when someone comes to you and asks you to do something, you don't just go, no, or that's dumb. Yeah. That is the wrong way to approach it.
Sure. That's the extreme side. Yep.
Yeah. Or just jumping in and say, yeah, I can do that without even thinking about the ramifications of other projects or time. Right. And that's usually the default, right? Most people will just go, yeah, I can do that. I can fit it in. And then they work more hours and have less time with their family and all that kind of shit to fulfill that ask without reprioritizing. So an effective way to do that is say, hey, that sounds like a really awesome opportunity. I would like to do that, but either A, I can't in my current task list and prioritization project, whatever, or B, if there's something else that I'm working on for you right now that you would like to maybe delay a little bit so I can take care of this thing for you, maybe we can do that. But otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you to find someone else to take care of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And, depending on the situation, you could bring in more people that are delegators of work to try and shift things around, but usually that's kind of a last resort. So yeah, it's a good way to start. Just, I would love to do this, but here's the problem.
Yeah. And
here's the solution of how you could help you get this done. But otherwise it's a no. No, but no, and no, but we can discuss this thing, is great. No is bad. Oh yeah. Yes, sir is bad. Because they both have very extreme consequences when used all the time.
Yes.
So like no forever is going to get you labeled as someone who just can't handle anything. And then you're going to be left alone. You're going to be left behind. You're going to, eventually, well, if you like that, great. If that's your plan, go for it. But I think most people it's not. And then the yes is going to have severe consequences too, personally and professionally, because you're just overloaded. You're going to burn out. you're going to have problems at home. You're going to, depending on, your living situation and stuff.
Yeah.
So living in the middle is much better. Right.
Yeah. And, how you say no is also really important to, the relationship you have with the person asking. Especially with someone that you have a constant working relationship with. If you are constantly combative in your no's, they don't want to work with you anymore. And that's really bad.
That's right.
But if you can frame your no's in a more understanding way or a collaborative way, they won't mind the no's as much. And they'll be like, oh yeah, he is really overloaded. Maybe I'll go ask this other person if they can take care of it. And, I'll touch base with them on the next follow-up project or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important to maintain a strong relationship with the person that is providing the ask. Because if you are constantly having a combative no, they're just not going to want to work with you at all.
Right. Yep, that's true. And if someone is trying to deploy this strategy, like we've talked about, and they've created some scenarios where they can use the no and then follow up with something that's a solution or a temporary solution or some way to work with the person to get the job done, and you're still receiving this very negative feedback, first of all, figure out why and try to ask about why you're getting such a negative feedback from trying to push and say no, but at the same time offer solutions. But usually, from my experience, it's just that the person is not used to hearing no, is number one. They are in a position where they're so busy and they just need a yes. So they get upset when it's a no and it's extra work. So then the solution hasn't been presented to them immediately and they still have to do work to pass this thing off to get it done. That's going to frustrate people, especially if the organization is in a position where that's happening to a lot of people and you're just flat out and there's no attempt to make it so that it's a collaborative environment and that you are allocating resources effectively and everybody feels like you have each other's backs. Like if it's not, so it could give you some clue as to like what kind of a culture you're in as well. Just know that even if you get the negative feedback, it's still the right way to do it. And you can ask about why is the negative feedback coming about? Why is this such a problem? And you can ask directly, use that radical candor and say, why don't we have the ability to say no and, or no but, or get extra time? Or what could have avoided this crunch to where we're all overloaded and you're still got more stuff and it just keeps coming and coming? What is causing this to happen? Find the root cause. Don't give up, because it can be demoralizing sometimes when you try to deploy these tactics and they just don't work.
Yeah.
And they come flying back in your face. But don't give up. Just keep asking, keep trying to understand, but by using what Steve said as the number one, that radical candor. So
yeah. So it's
just wanted to offer that up.
Yeah. Essentially, it's you can say no, but just make sure there's an effective alternative that follows that no.
Yeah.
So utilize radical candor. How to say no, and my last topic that I wanted to touch on here, and this is not every topic for effective communication by any stretch of the means. This is just the three that were prevalent in my mind this week. Is making sure there's clarity and alignment up and down the chain of command. And the note I have on here is, even if you are at the bottom of the command structure, right, you're the individual contributor engineer in a large organization, you still have the ability to bring key decision makers and everyone in the command structure together to make sure everyone is on the same page. And that's really important, because a lot of engineers and even just secretaries and all over across the spectrum of individual contributors, they think that, because I'm not in a management position and I'm not a leader of someone, that I don't have that ability to to drive decisions, or I don't have the ability to, align people who are in those roles and make sure that there is that clarity and alignment on whatever the project is. And you absolutely do. And I mean, it's really your responsibility, because you need to understand how you need to proceed in a project. And to have that understanding, you need to make sure that everyone who has eyes on your work has the same expectations. And that is vastly important, because if you are under the assumption of going one way on a project and your direct manager has that assumption and expectation, that's great. But if someone on another team in a leadership position sees what you're doing and that goes against the grain of their expectation, they're going to make noise and then cause problems. And then there's going to be scope creep or other issues in the project that are going to cause time delays, conflict, etc. And you need to avoid that up front by making sure that everyone is on the same page at all times.
Yeah. And I have 2 colleagues that if they listen to this episode and get this far, they will know that I'm talking about them, right? Not in a bad way at all, but because this is one of the things that we've been working on. And I've been trying to, help with and coach, because when I see something, I want everybody to win and win very well.
Yeah.
So these are, and I have great relationships with them, working relationships. So it's, I can bring these things up with some radical candor and some advice and coaching and mentoring, right? Which I love to do, obviously. So, but that hits it right on the head. And it might not be that multiple different department. Well, actually, it very well can be kind of scenario where there's different departments involved and different people and different leaders all coming together. And it was the solution to one of the things that I just talked to them about in a one-on-one that we had. It was the exact solution. So that's awesome. And I love that that's something that is on your mind, because it's super important. So I hope people can listen to that and again, apply it. And then again, if you get negative feedback from it, it's going to show you something about the organization you're working for. But yeah, as a newcomer, as a green engineer, as someone that's in a position that I guess you would be the lowest on the totem pole, so to speak, I can still be that person too on a project.
Oh, yeah.
It is your responsibility. If you're the guy just grunting out the work, and in our case, it would be producing the designs, right? That's the work that eventually has to happen, and you just head down. And if you don't understand the direction you should be going, you absolutely have the right and the responsibility, the obligation to call the whole team together to get it figured out and get the direction set straight. Would I start with the whole team? No, but I would go to the person that you direct report to and ask those questions and, get the answers, get the direction. And if they can't answer them to your satisfaction, then that's when you say, okay, I would like the team to get together for a 10-minute huddle so I can express my concerns and have them addressed by the team so that we all have a consensus and we're all moving in the same direction. You get to do that for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in multiple companies I've worked at, in all levels of the organization, that when that breaks down, there's conflict all over the place. And when there is clarity and alignment, even if there's challenges in the projects themselves, the projects are still massively effective. So I think it's one of the biggest tools in your tool belt to manage projects and manage the work that you're doing, right? Because if you are going down one path and then it's deemed as not the right path, how much time did you just waste working down that direction? And then now you have to go back and reset and do all this extra work. And no one wants to do that. So it's very important to upfront get that clarity and alignment, and then throughout the project maintain it at the milestones and intervals throughout the project.
Yeah, And I want to say something else that is a kind of a mindset or a framework. Like, you're not doing this for yourself. I mean, you kind of are, because you want to be in a good position. You want to win. You should want to win anyway. I do. And I do things that I can always tie back to, it's because I think it's the best thing to do, or it's for myself, but it's not really. It's for the team. Mm-hmm. You're doing this for the greater good of the organization, the department, the team, whatever that you're in. You know, if you don't have clarity, what you're doing is going to ripple into other people's workload, scheduling. It's going to come across in a way that affects them, so that they might have an adverse effect on how they're performing as well. And then it's like, okay, that ripples to the owner too, because maybe it results in being delayed when, if you could have had the right direction, you were on time. And then there's that whole layer of, we're all human beings and we all think things should go a certain way. And that ripple that's being observed by other people, that is not necessarily a direct consequence to them, they're still seeing it. They're still seeing how things operate. They're still seeing the collective and how things are going. And then they're forming their own opinions about it, right? And then they carry that attitude into whatever they're doing. It's a ripple effect to more than you know within the organization and each individual person, really, if you really get down to it. So it's your obligation to speak up and have those conversations. Because I mean, a direct example is someone of authority, quote unquote, giving someone else work that overrides the work that they're doing for somebody else. And then there's no communication. Mm-hmm. I've had that happen to me a bunch of times, and it's unnecessary. A quick phone call, if you don't have it on your radar, just a quick communication. Hey, getting pulled off of this job that I know I have 8 hours for you this week that has been scheduled, very well planned out. And if I do the 8 hours for you this week, we're going to be in a great position, and the job's going to go smooth, and the whole team's going to benefit from it. Right? Because we all share information, and the work product that we do has an effect on everybody else. I can't do those 8 hours this week. Okay. You've told me right away. Awesome. I'm going to pivot, or I'm going to say, tell me who gave you that work that thinks it can override mine, because I need to talk to them and maybe get a solution. So I'm going to do the no and with them. You're fine. You stay there real quick. Or some other solution, right? But at least people know. So That's one. Bring it up, because it starts just tearing holes, in your plan. And plans are useless, but planning is everything. And tear all the holes you want in the plan. That's great. But people need to know that the holes are forming so that they can pivot. Okay, it's all about communication. That's why today's topic is so important. It all comes back down to communication. I'm very understanding. The whole place could be burning down around me, and if someone tells me that that's happening, I'm fun and along for the ride. Cool. That's great. I love it. Everything's burning down. This is fun. But if it's all burning down and nobody knows, and then I run into a brick wall and I go, oh my God, there's this huge problem. And, oh yeah, we've known about that for 2 weeks, and I've been taking time here and doing this. And it's like, oh,
that would have been
nice
great
to know.
Yeah.
Right? I could have gone in and grabbed a can of gas and pitched it on there for you too. It would have been fun. But I need to know, So that's obviously that's something that's very important to me, because I get a little excited about it. But it's communication is everything.
Yeah. And this kind of stuff is not taught in schools, which is why we feel so passionate about bringing this up here.
Right. It comes back to the guy that said, man, I wish you would have known this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, now you do.
Exactly. I know.
Whoever's listening now knows. And now it's about applying. You can know anything you want and never apply it. And then you've lost this 46 minutes of your life. So
yeah, you got to take action.
You got to take action.
Yeah. So just 3 bullet points on a much larger list of effective communication is utilize radical candor, how to say no, and making sure there's clarity and alignment up and down the chain of command. Let us know if you have any other bullet points to effective communication. You can go to our website, impactfulengineer.com, sign up for our newsletter, And you can also email us at questions@impactfulengineer.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So, Jacob, that's all I got.
That's all you got? All
That's
right.
all I got.
Well, if you're listening to this and you're a student, go out to some career fairs and have some freaking fun. Go meet some people. Go make some contacts. Go be confident. Figure out what your options are out there. Try to get into some good co-ops. Maybe you'll meet someone like me and we'll have a great time. Peace.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, I hope you had a great time listening. Maybe you learned something new, maybe you got inspired, or at least took one thing away that you'd be able to use. Maybe you just had a good laugh. Impactful Engineering's hope and mission is that through this podcast, we can play a small part in expanding the reach and awareness of engineering and all of its many areas of application. The multiple engineering career paths available can be hugely rewarding as part of a fulfilled life, creating opportunity to impact nearly everyone in the modern world. An engineer's work helps to foster creation of new technologies, creates safe and comfortable environments in which people can work, and lends to the sustainable future of everyone on the planet. The world needs more impactful engineers. Our vision is to provide engineers with the perspective and the tools to allow themselves the opportunity to become the most impactful engineers they can be. Included in our vision is to grow the impactful engineering community to a point where we can provide full ride scholarships to students in every single U.S. state every single year. This is an enormous goal, and with your help, we can get there. To start, we will continue to execute this mission in the way that we know how, having conversations, telling stories, and talking about what we find interesting and are passionate about. If the episode made you think, made you object, made you think you could possibly be doing something more with your day, or brought about an idea that you could spend more time on developing further, please share the show or recommend it to your friends. Even if you didn't personally think it was a huge help, there may be someone that you know that could benefit from it, and that's all we can ask for. Until next time on the Impactful Engineer Podcast.